Здравствуй, товарищ, and welcome to Wargame European Escalation. I'm Hob Gatling, and today we'll be playing through the Wasteland campaign's third mission, Crossing the Elbe. I already have all the units I will need for this mission, so I'm not going to unlock anything. Here goes.
Our objective lies to the west, in the Netherlands to be precise. A NATO complex my Spetsnaz were assigned to seize, which we know in detail. But let's not focus now on our final objective. We have to clear the first obstacle on our path, the Elbe River. According to our intelligence, there's only one bridge left over it, at Lauenburg, Elbe. And as with anything valuable, it has attracted the attention of several local warlords. If we can't make them see reason, we'll have to cut our way through them. Lauenburg's current garrison refuses to see reason. However, fate offers us an opportunity. A former NATO officer turned rogue is actually besieging the city from its western bank. The Russian warlord holding Lauenburg is certainly not one to give up. If we can sneak up close enough, we could be in a position to hit and kill two birds with one stone.
The objectives are clear. There are two strong points, one defended by NATO units, one with Warsaw Pact units, and we must clear both out. To do that within the time constraints, I'm going to call in helicopters. They are only units speedy enough to be able to pull this one off. The composition of our little group is two Mi-28 Havocs, two Mi-24A Hinds, and four Mi-24 VPs, and one recon helicopter. Also, we need to take and hold Jacob for 30 minutes, and that's the time limit. Within 1 minute of getting this secondary objective, I need to finish the whole mission. The helicopter assault group is quick and powerful, but it has a problem with anti-air. It takes losses rapidly, and if you blunder into an ambush, it's possible to lose half of your group in just seconds. So we need to be somewhat careful and open up a corridor for our helicopters to move in.
Отправляемся в указанный квадрат. Держитесь крепче, взлетаем.
A single Strela team doesn't stand a chance against our heliborne assault. Still, they are a major pain in the ass because you can hide infantry SAM teams in practically every bush. So it's easy to create ambush zones. The best way to deal with a single Strela team is just to charge in and take it out as quickly as possible. The problem here is of course that you'll have to know beforehand whether it's alone or if there's a lot of the missile teams present. If there's a lot of missiles in the area, you shouldn't have landed there in the first place.
Проверка завершена. К вылету готовы.
The enemy armor isn't dangerous to us while we are flying, but I'll try to remove most of it when I get the chance. The idea is that I don't want the enemy to get any counterplay here. I'll have to hold and refuel every now and then, and it's simply easier for me if the enemy doesn't have any units nearby.
Вижу цель. Навожусь.
Here we have the two of our first problems in this mission. The enemy will start to counterattack the objective we need to hold, so we'll have to deal with those counterattacks as swiftly as possible, hopefully before they reach the objective area. The other problem is enemy artillery hitting Jacob. I'm using an unarmored CV here. The choice was between unarmored CVs and helicopter CVs, and I have other plans for the helicopters. So one lucky shell can destroy the command post in one go. This, by the way, is one of the major reasons why experienced players usually take armored command posts. They can withstand an lucky artillery shell, and when you're shooting unaimed fire, it's hard to land two shells into the same spot. I'm using Polish special forces here. The Piechota Zmech units are specialists and thus only have 5 people per squad. They are cheap and powerful but can't take much damage, so I have to support them with my helicopters and tanks. Still looks like the rocket barrage took most of the fight out of the first enemy assault on Jacob.
Вылетаем.
Now then, the artillery. It's sort of a waste of time to go kill it, but I have to be secure in the knowledge that it can't destroy my CV. And whenever we see an enemy battery around, we are going to prioritize it as a target and take it out.
Нужно проверить хвостовой вид.
Take out the CV while we are here,
Там не будет вражеских.
just in case, so the enemy doesn't call in any reinforcements from Juliana.
Держитесь крепче. Взлетаем.
Scouts are among the worst threats for our little helicopter group here. Every time a scout gets eyes on us, we risk being targeted by long-range anti-air missiles. So taking them out quickly is preferable.
Наше небо. Надеюсь, там не будет вражеских зенитов.
I probably didn't need to kill those tanks, but still they were perfect targets, and I'd rather kill them here than at Jacob.
Проверка завершена, к вылету готовы. Это наше небо. Проверить хвостовой винт.
Now then, the approach to Constantine is going to be a bit tricky. There's lots of good hiding places for anti-air guns, so if we blunder into an ambush, we'll have to hope that we can take out the enemy forces quickly. And of course, anything anti-air is a priority number one for us now. That's the luckiest Chilka in the world.
Нужно проверить хвостовой винт.
Using up a lot of ammunition is somewhat dangerous for us. If we use all of our ATGMs and rockets and have to rearm, it's possible the enemy will try to attack us in the middle of the rearming process, as we saw in the first mission. So whenever possible, I'm going to make sure that at least some of my helicopters have some ammunition left before heading out to resupply.
Экипаж приветствует вас на борту. Это наше небо. Капитан и экипаж приветствуют вас на борту.
Looks like the helicopter landing trick where you can just choose your helicopters and right click on an FOB works, and we don't have to do the helicopter reshuffle that much anymore. Unfortunately, we of course have to capture the FOB with the helicopter before we can do it. But still, it's gonna save us quite some time. Again, the best way to dodge an ATGM launched at your helicopters is to get airborne. The same principles apply with helicopters as with everything else. More guns beat less guns.
Вы что-то заметили?
Just a little bit of fuel and we should be good to go.
Куда нам отправляться, сэр? Вы что-то заметили?
Less than 20 minutes on the clock.
Отбой.
will have to pick up the pace or we are never going to make it.
Для нас честь служить под вашим началом. С удовольствием, сэр. Как скажете, сэр. Проверка завершена. К вылету готовы. Это наше небо. Проверка завершена. К вылету
A pair
готовы.
of Havocs will take out the lucky Shilka, whose luck runs out, and the rest of the group will have to assault Constantine immediately.
Нужен ангел-хранитель. Заново хвататься. Надеюсь, там не будет вражеских зениток.
Now, the command helicopters I'm going to take to Constantine. I really should have assigned an escort for them. It's not safe to fly them over unclear contested territory without an escort.
Капитан и экипаж приветствуют вас. Вам нужен ангел-хранитель? Отправляемся в указанный квадрат.
The enemy units blinked out of sight for a moment. That's the result of the scout chopper landing. There are several ways around this problem, but sometimes landing can be useful. The ways around it is either parking it above a forest or water, letting it land and hitting the change altitude key, or just queuing up enough movement orders so that it will fly around in a circle and doesn't have time to land while the gunships are pounding away. Sometimes landing can be useful. It's possible to hide behind hill edges, forests and other terrain features like that and make pop-up attacks, but it's pretty micro-intensive and usually not worth it. Also, landing with the helicopters when enemy units are in sight is not really a good idea. You're giving away your best asset, your speed. It takes a while to get airborne again, and if enemy tanks are charging you while you are landed, the tanks have a nice position.
Это наше небо.
We have taken over Constantine and our helicopters are resupplying. Looks like the enemy meanwhile is trying to attack Sergei. I don't really have anything important left in Sergei, just one Jeep CV. But I'm still going to try and defend it against enemy attacks.
Здесь становится жарковато. Это наше небо. Проверка завершена. К вылету готовы. Держитесь, капитан. Да, экипаж приветствует вас на борту.
Sappers will have to clear out Leonid. The T-64 BVs we haven't seen before in our side. We've seen them as enemies. They are a strange tank in their armor profile. They have good front armor but extremely disproportionately weak side armor. So it's even more important to make sure that the enemy doesn't get a chance to hit your side armor. That makes them sort of hard to use in a multiplayer environment. There are a couple of ideas on how to use those tanks effectively, but for the most part it's just easier to pay a small extra price and call in TADs.
Куда нам отправляться, сэр? Проверка завершена, к берегу готовы. С удовольствием, сэр.
Looks like Leonid is clear. I'm just going to take over that one too. Don't need two CVs in one zone.
Выдвигаемся к цели. Конец связи. Вылетаем. Выдвигаемся к цели. Конец связи. Захожу на цель.
Again, the anti-air has to be the first to go.
Захожу на цель.
Those tanks moving into the small village there are a real problem for my helicopters. Almost every tank has an anti-air 50 caliber machine gun, and getting shot with those is rather dangerous. You can defend against helicopters with tanks if the terrain is suitable by charging in as close as possible. You are usually well enough armored to deal with the rockets and the helicopter cannons, and the missiles at close range aren't such a big threat, not when you get to shoot back. Of course, in open terrain, the tanks are in a huge trouble.
Это наше небо. Отправляемся в указанный квадрат.
Another FOB. It's
Держите крепче, взлетаем.
not really well positioned for us, so I'm just going to skip that one.
Честь служить под вашим началом.
And I'm going to take one of the command helicopters with me.
Куда нам отправляться, сэр?
I'll try to secure an objective area on the NATO side of the map, so we don't have to charge in the NATO
Вылетаем.
objective with our helicopters. They are sure to have more anti-air missiles than Pact did. Warsaw Pact side depends a lot more on the gun systems such as Shilka and Tunguska.
Надеюсь, там не будет вражеских зениток. Отправляемся в указанный квадрат. Отправляемся в указанный
Flying
квадрат.
over open ground should be pretty safe for us. Interestingly, that FOB is a Warsaw Pact FOB. Looks like there's been some fighting over here, and the Warsaw Pact troops have captured it.
Вылетаем. Надеюсь, там не будет вражеских зениток.
That looks like a good zone to take over. So while the command post is slowly making its way towards our main group will have to deal with any defenses on center.
Это наше небо. Вылетаем. Держитесь крепче, взлетаем.
That's hopefully everything on center. It's such a small objective area that I don't think you can hide very much in there. We still have a good while of time left. We are already close to the NATO final objective here.
Для нас честь служить под вашим началом. Это наше небо. Куда нам отправляться, сэр?
Again with the refueling times. If you ever manage to catch enemy helicopters in the process of rearming, not attacking with ground troops is preferable. If you have any artillery, especially rocket arty, dropping a salvo on a group of helicopters like that is sure to get results. We have lots of time left and we haven't shown off the TOS Buratino Pinocchio vehicles yet. They are an napalm thrower built on top of a T-72 chassis, and they are a pretty goddamn terrifying weapon. We'll just call in 6 of those and make sure that the NATO target area is well bombarded before we go in with our helicopters. We've made it this far without losing any helos, so I'm not going to start getting casualties now. First, of course, we need to get eyes on the enemy zone. So the small jeep will have to sit in a bush and spot for our artillery. For maximum effect, let's split up the guns.
Дайте нам координаты цели. Готовы дать залп, сэр. Хотите услышать, как нас называют органом Сталина? Нравится? Полет. А мне больше по душе Чайковский. Это наше небо.
Some anti-air, some tanks, lots of helicopters.
Дайте нам координаты цели.
Let's do this.
Обрушьте на них. Готовы дать залп по моему сигналу. Нас называют органом Сталина. Хотите услышать, как готовы дать залп, сэр. Нас называют органом Сталина. А мне больше по душе Чайковский. Готовы дать залп, сэр. Вам нравится полет, сэр? Они попляшут под нас.
starting salvo. The Buratinos, of course, require huge amounts of supplies, so I'm just going to call in a couple of those beastly supply helicopters. That should be 10,000 points worth of supplies, so essentially that's a flying FOB. 3 minutes left. That should be plenty of time for our next salvo.
Ракеты готовы, сэр. Нас называют органом Сталина. А мне больше по душе Катюшу. Ракеты готовы, сэр. Нас называют органом Сталина. А мне больше по душе Чайковский.
It takes quite a while to reload the Buratinos for the next salvo, so the aiming process is quick, but we'll just have to wait a minute or so for the reloading to finish before they start shooting again. In multiplayer games, Buratinos can be a real pain. Back in the beta days, they were a huge problem. They took out absolutely everything they hit, and they reloaded really quickly. If your units weren't moving by the time the first rocket hit, they were already dead. That's that, and we still have some time left in the clock. Less than a minute and a half now. So better call the helicopters forward and get the Buratinos in closer. We still have time for one more salvo. That looks like a good target. So at least 3 Leopards and 1 Panzer Grenadier still left in Anna.
Нужно проверить хвостовой вид. Это наше дело. Приказание. Отбой. Капитан и экипаж приветствуют вас на борту. Вы что-то заметили? Подползаем. Как говорится, хороший разведчик.
That's our cue. Now we can clear Anna and have to do it within 1 minute. That's all the Leopards, so hopefully the Panzer Grenadier is the last unit inside Anna.
Здесь становится жарковато.
looks like it, and we can pull back now. The Leopard sweeping off as a bonus.
Blow up the bridges behind us. That will give us a head start on our pursuers.
And another victory for our small but powerful helicopter group. The Havocs, as usual, get a rather handsome kill list, as do the Mi-24 VPs. Losses were pretty light, some BTRs and one scout. That's it for this mission. Until next time, this is Hobgadling signing out. Peace.